Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Shalom. Welcome to vlog 95. Goodness me, these vlogs are really adding up now. Just 5 away from 100 of these as I randomly talk about all things the news cycle in a given day, the things that really got us talking and thinking. And today I want to be very brief insofar as looking at something which I think there was a bit of a snake oil salesman behind it, selling you a very slick but poisonous toxin, or tonic rather, that the media then helped you sort of shove down your very throat. Before I get into any of that, a reminder that the Big Daddy Liberty Show is supported by you. You make this show possible with your financial contributions every month. As little as $20 a month or $1 a month is all it needs to get me around the country and of course to help me produce this content. So please consider supporting, and if you're joining this, please smash that like button. It really does help, and if you share the link, it helps even further. You know, the president is currently, that's President Cyril Ramaphosa, is currently before the commission of the state inquiry into state capture. May have butchered that a little bit, but it's the Zondo Commission broadly. You know, for me, this commission is becoming almost laughable, not because of who mans it. I mean, Deputy Chief Justice Zondo is, by all accounts, an up-and-up dude, stand-up guy, very much big on the issue of the rule of law. So my criticism isn't geared towards him, nor is it geared or aimed at the numerous legal minds in that commission, you know, the evidence leaders and the like. Again, these are some of the sharpest legal minds in the country. My biggest issue is that we've reached a point in this country where we're allowing the politics to guide what should be structures of or institutions rather dealing with things. Now, what do I mean by this? In fact, as I even say that, some might say, "Oh, but you know, this commission is an institution, isn't it?" Well, not really, because for me, it duplicates what should be it duplicates the work of an existing institution, i.e., the judiciary. You know, the from law enforcement right up to you know, the judiciary in this country, right up to the penal, the penitentiary system. It seems as though politicians have entered this very comfortable groove where they can just, for the giggles, right, set up this commission or that commission, because really they deep down inside, you know, they'll know that they'll throw a lot of millions of rands towards them, but really there won't be much in the way of consequences in them. And that's a bit of a problem for me. That is a bit of a problem for me when I look at, for example, in this particular commission of inquiry as to what they're looking into, i.e. state capture, where the smoke and mirrors has been what at surface level has been the Jacob Zuma years. You know, we often, what was broadly referred as the 9 wasted years. But for me, all of this is a little scapegoaty. The Guptas and all of that stuff, yes, is profoundly bad, profoundly problematic, but it's all a bit scapegoaty for me, because the real issue behind understanding what state capture is you actually having a firm grasp of, firstly, the ideology behind the ANC, and of course, the ANC itself as an organization in government. So let's begin with the ideology. Number one, the ideology of the ANC is broadly leftist. Specifically, it is a socialist organization that is yoked or has allegiance to two distinctly also leftist organizations, one communist by way of the South African Communist Party and the other socialist in its nature, also in the form of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU. So broadly speaking, the ANC is a leftist organization. Any pretense otherwise, or any of the little ANC fans who get annoyed when I say this, facts don't give a flying fudge about your feelings. The ANC is a socialist organization and its friends, i.e. the South African Communist Party and COSATU, red in tooth and claw, commies and socialists too. Now, why do I mention this in particular? Because under the doctrine of the ANC then is the notion, or the ethos, the doctrine actually, let me not mince my words here, the doctrine of the National Democratic Revolution, which is the overarching strategy the ANC has followed since about the mid-50s, adopted at the Morogoro conference. This strategy, Leninist in its nature, has various facets, all of which I won't go through in this video because I want to be short. I'm at the 6-minute mark. But the one facet is the total control of the levers of power in society. Those levers including those in the state, those in society, including civil society, and of course in the private sector. The complete control of a society by a single party. This is the ethos behind the ANC, and that's what they talk about when they refer to the National Democratic Revolution. And one component under that is the policy of cadre deployment. Now, we've all heard cadre deployment being spoken of in sort of loose terms in the mainstream media, idiots as they are. But very few understand what this policy actually is. So that when you do understand it, and I will explain it, when you do understand it, you'll realize that the whole commission looking into state capture it's a red herring when the ANC itself is designed on the basis of state capture. The ANC's whole existence is guided on the notion that it wants to capture the state for the benefit of the party. So what is state capture? State capture is this idea that the ANC sets up a committee, i.e. the center of power in a society is the party itself. So it sets up committees that run parallel to the state, but actually control what happens in the state. So in this particular instance, the ANC makes room for what is called the Deployment Committee, which is a committee made up of various politicians from the ANC's top 6, and of course the NEC, and I think some just ordinary members, but I'm not sure on that last point. But it's head honchos in the ANC, who then, as a committee, parallel to the state, get to decide and have the power to decide as to who they deploy into key government positions. So for the ANC, appointments, political appointments don't end in what are political roles. So for instance, I have a background in politics and government, right? So full disclosure for those who maybe don't know, I used to work in the Western Cape government. I was a spokesperson of that administration under then Premier Helen Zille. The job I occupied is a political appointment. As a spokesperson for the minister or the MEC of social development in that province, I was appointed not because necessarily I was the best at that job, albeit the DA does make that effort in what they call fit for purpose policy, but this is relevant. The point is this, just to make my argument. In that role, I was a political appointment insofar as the rationale behind why I got that job was because of my political clout in the party, then at least, before I pissed everybody off with all my libertarian and classical liberal stuff. I'm just gonna move around because I'm just hearing the fam arrive and I don't want to catch them in the stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this way, but I want to finish the point. I want to finish the point by saying, you know, one of the things that really annoyed me to no great end is a failure to understand that cadre deployment itself is state capture. Cadre deployment itself is the root cause for the corruption that we see in the state. So let me just hop into my vehicle here. just have a slightly more quieter environment. I am keeping an eye on time. I can see we're at the 10-minute mark. I probably don't want to be more than 5 more minutes because I want to conclude my point. Let's crack a window. Crack a window and then the radio off. Right, here we go. Sorry about that, guys. So, Cadre Deployment itself is a parallel structure that is rooted and in the ANC, with ANC being fully in control, with the idea of populating not only what are political appointments in the state, i.e., for example, in an office of the minister, there would be a chief of staff, a spokesperson, maybe a secretary, a registrar, and like a driver. Those are sort of the, roughly speaking, in terms of the ministerial handbook, the 5 posts that a minister's office will have. But what the ANC have done is they've said, no, our ability to choose people purely based on their political clout, or what perhaps they do for me politically, doesn't end there. We also want to be able to choose what should be people who are in the civil service. Now, in any functional democracy, people who are in the civil service should be professionals with no necessarily party political allegiances. In other words, they're not chosen because of party political allegiances. They're chosen because of their skills. They're chosen because of their knowledge. They're chosen because of their ability. And I'm seeing a signal is lagging a bit. Warning from Jack. Thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. Just let me know if it continues, guys, and I'll try and move to a better spot. But really, I'm nearly done because I'm trying to make the point here that when you then listen to what is a state commission a commission on investigating state capture, you need to understand that the whole thing is a fugazi. The whole thing is a ruse, considering that the ANC itself, by its very nature, is what is trying to achieve, the capture of the state, both because of its ideology and secondly, because of a particular policy called Cadre Deployment. So once you understand this, you'll then understand that the whole thing, or the whole act, I'll call it an act, by Cyril Ramaphosa, who's currently before the Commission on State Capture, is exactly that. It's an act. It's a ruse. It's a complete ruse, including this weird attempt to try and pin all of this on the Zuma years. It's not just years. The problem is the ANC itself. And it's only once you begin to understand that when you'll actually begin to understand that politicians broadly are trash. Yes, and I include those in the DA, I include those in the EFF, I include those in all political parties before I'm accused of harboring sympathies for one party or another. And why do I keep saying this? Because at the end of the day, every politician's first goal or goals is number 1, the acquisition of power, and number 2, the retention of power. And that power, if it corrupts you, becomes, or you're wanting to acquire it and retain it, becomes the be-all, end-all. So that service delivery and all those other things that are meant to serve other people become secondary, if not incidental. And that's what you're seeing with the ANC today. That's what you're seeing with the ANC today. So that all these nice games, it's all of it is just a complete ruse, an absolute complete ruse. And that their policy of Cadre Deployment is, by its nature, the actual intent of capturing the state. Because, for instance, here's a final example just to make the point salient. If the ANC were to lose, let's say, KwaZulu-Natal, let's say the IFP makes a comeback and it wins KwaZulu-Natal, the amount of capture in the state would have gone so deep, the rot so far, that the IFP would now literally have to embark on a process of effectively cleaning the actual administration. So not only would he have to get rid of the political appointments, right? Those people who I mentioned, for example, are part of an MEC's office or a minister's office. Not only would you have to get rid of them. Sorry, guys, I'm just seeing the messages. Don't worry, I am seeing the messages. Let me see if I can quickly fix this. Just give me a moment, guys. Give me 2 seconds. I will go off screen for a bit. All right, I think I'm back. Can I just have a quick confirmation as to whether I'm back? I've just switched to the 4G. So I'm just going to wait for a little bit of confirmation as I conclude the point. As I conclude the point that I've just made around, for instance, what state capture really looks like and how it has nothing to do with the face, the smoke and mirrors that were being sold, for example, in the commission. Okay, thank you, Human or Humane Hippo. Humane Hippo, I like that name. Shout out to you, Humane Hippo. I see you, homie. Dog. Sorry, quick anecdote. I was actually in for the life of me, I can't remember where I was now. St. Lucia, 2 weeks ago, and them hippos in that part of the world literally meander the streets, throwing up West Side signs and all sorts of gangster stuff because they are the gangsters in that town. They own that town. All right. Shervin Nadia, I do see your comment as to the video being bad quality. I think it may have been the Wi-Fi transition. I'm going to give it a few seconds, and then it should really improve. But let me actually also just conclude the point. I'll revisit the point so that just in case you lost me in that little transition, but I'll conclude it now to say this. So that now, with you now understanding what cadre deployment is, with you now understanding that it is a parallel structure set up by the ANC in order to infiltrate all levels of the state to take them over and corrupt them with your own people, in other words, infusing your own people into the state, and that these people are chosen, not because of their knowledge, not because of their skills, not because of their abilities, but they're chosen by the amount of political clout they have. Because that is the major metric. That is why you've seen progressively over the years the decay and breakdown in the state's capabilities to deliver on its promises. Now, I'm using this argument in the assumption that I believe that the current size of government is appropriate. Of course, my personal view that it isn't. Government should be smaller and should have less responsibilities. But even of those responsibilities, if you have a policy of cadre deployment where you put in your chommies and your political friends on the basis of their political clout and what they can do for you politically, and not on the basis of their skills or their knowledge, their skills and abilities, then of course you'll see a decaying of the quality of service delivery in the state. Of course you'll see a booty system or a patronage network develop, because if I put you into a key position in government where you're earning $1 million, R1 million salary every year, then of course I will want something back from you politically, right? Or I will want something back from you in terms of a kickback to say, well, I put you in this position, now I need something from you, either by way of giving me access to tenders, which is how the ANC actually works, or B, literally hiring people with no skills and no abilities really into positions in that government department or in that state-owned enterprise, so that you now understand why the corruption and the rot happens. It isn't because, oh, there are some bad people in the ANC, as we often hear from the ANC. There is no good ANC and bad ANC. The ANC itself is the fundamentally corrupt, leftist, Leninist, socialist organization that it is, and it is because of its actual policies that we're seeing the rot and the decay, and it's because of their policies that state capture is actually their goal. It isn't some random mistake, it isn't some externality, it is actually their goal. Once you understand this, then you'll understand that something like the commission currently looking into state capture, unless it asks serious and pertinent questions and even looks to prosecute within what the law allows, the practice or the continuing practice of of cadre deployment, then actually yes, I would agree with you, Franz Maguire. The commission, it would be and is a waste of time. So that's the thought, guys. That's the That's the thought. Let me know what you think. I see all of the ANC and EFF and party political idiots are coming in to the comment section. They're mad that I'm going after their politicians. But this is what you have in this country, and this is my final thought. This is what you have in this country. The moment you point out the sheer stupidity, the moment you point out the sheer evil of someone's favorite politician, then you're accused of all sorts of things in this country. You have the likes of Tulani, for example. There's Tulani Pagati, who's just commented here, who says, oh, you must be pleasing your white masters, he says. Think about someone sitting in their home or their office right now, watching me make this point, possibly agreeing, but being more angry that I'm going after their politicians for them to say something as stupid as that. This idiot actually took the time to type that nonsense out because he feels the pain of the truth of what I'm talking about right now. And this is what I'm encouraging all of you and more of you to start doing. Start speaking out, start speaking out, start getting the truth out. Let the truth sting them. Disturb their little fiefdom, disturb their little ball of ignorance, disturb their little happiness to be second-rate citizens in the country of their birth. Guys who keep defending politicians are accepting being second-rate citizens in the country of their birth. And I'm saying to you, enough with that nonsense. Hashtag politicians are trash. Stop putting politicians first. Stop coming here and thinking you are blacker than thou or the paragon of blackness because you support politicians who steal from black people. I have no time for people like you. I have no time for people who do this. Because you have people who would rather defend the ANC and really all corrupt politicians and ignore the fact that those same politicians are the very people who, because of their policies, are destroying the quality of life of people. Cadre deployment, as I've now described to you, affects disproportionately black people. When a clinic doesn't have enough doctors or nurses or medicine because the people who are literally employed to run those clinics are unqualified because they were deployed by the ANC, it affects black people. So don't come onto my stream and suggest that I'm talking for white people or I'm defending white masters when you're the one who is defending the pain and the anguish of black South Africans, especially poor black South Africans. I will swear at you, and I'm not someone who swears. Because you're walking around here claiming to support black people and that you stand for black progress and empowerment, blah, blah, blah. But you're happy to see fellow black people suffer, especially poor people. And I'm playing your game right now because I'm having a little bit of fun with you. I'm having a little bit of fun with these idiots because they'll happily hide in the comment section. Happily hide in the comment section. But when you see them in real life, Big Daddy, everything you say is so cool. Oh, really? So it's these people who we need to begin to squeeze. We need to begin to squeeze and show them out as the fools that they are. Because they're the sort of people who would have listened to Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday at the commission defending Cadre Deployment, saying, oh, well, it's not so much of a problem. It has its issues here and there. They're the sort of people who defend this idiocy and expect the rest of us to also be idiots like them. Wow. Safa Sapeli says, he poo. But it's true. So I'll leave it there. Except to say this as a final gasp. If you continue to support political parties who, if all you need to do is just read their policies, and their policies tell you that they're looking to capture the state, their policies tell you that they're looking to make poor people, and indeed all people, dependent on the state. If you continue to support that, then I'll say this, and I'll say it boldly: nothing about you is pro-black, nothing about you is pro-South African, nothing about you is pro-poor. What you are pro-politicians, and you're pro-you getting your cut from politicians. That is why I talk about politicians and the political elites in this country. It's a simple equation. It is as simple as that. If the policies of your favorite politicians say nothing about breaking the power of the state and breaking the resources of the state and giving it to poor people, whether those poor people are black, white, Indian, colored is irrelevant, giving it to poor people, then you are not interested in the progression of this country. you are interested in becoming part of the political elites. And we need to start calling those people out, because they're the people who are the beneficiaries of things, corrupt policies like cadre deployment, and the even more corrupt policies that then mask cadre deployment by race, such as BEE. You mean to really think to tell me, or rather, you mean to really argue that BEE benefits the vast majority of poor people, let alone poor blacks? Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. BEE has been a policy that has conveniently been yoked to a policy like cadre deployment because it benefits a small elite, and then uses race as a fig leaf. And then all the little political minions clap. Oh, well done, ANC. You're doing so well. Bullshit. Oh, and I even swore. But it absolutely is crap. Because at the end of the day, the people who really suffer are poor folks. And I would rather be a louder voice in supporting poor people than being a voice for blacks or whites or Indians or colors. I have no interest in being a voice for races. But I'm happy to be a voice for poor people, to say that the power and the resources of the state need to be broken up and given to poor people to allow them to live a life where they can pursue their happiness, to have opportunity, and to live in a prosperous, property-owning, free and non-racial society. That's what I want. So of course I'm going to have the political types be unhappy with me. Of course I'm going to have the political types be unhappy with me. Guys who support the ANC and the DA and the EFF, of course, they'll be unhappy with me for one or some other reason, because I'm showing their politicians up as being absolute trash. Absolute trash. Food for thought, my good people. And with that being said, thanks for watching. I will see you tonight. I've uploaded the episode of the BDL show. Oh man, it's going to be it's a cracker of a show, guys. I really encourage you to catch it tonight, 7 p.m. on Facebook or on YouTube. This is the episode that I bring to you from Piet Retief on the ground, as I was looking for residents of that town to ask them, how has the impact of that court case affected them and their space, both black and white residents in that part of the world? Has, for example, the politicians coming to their town with the race-baiting language, has the mobs, of party-clad people, whether they were ANC, EFF, or even IFP, who were there, have they been a net benefit or a negative in that town? So watch that episode. There's some interesting insights there, including an interview with farm workers in that area, where I asked them about a few things in that town. Sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on my nephew here who's climbing the gate. But with that being said, guys, I'll see you tonight, 7 p.m. on the Big Daddy Liberty Show. Drop a comment on the show. Let me know what you thought of this. Do you now understand what cadre deployment is? And do you see why, for instance, that for as long as that is the stated policy objective of the ANC and other political parties, that state capture itself will always be a problem, because state capture is the intent of the ANC. Let me know what you think. Maybe you hadn't heard that before. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Super appreciated. And a reminder to you as I end this episode, never trust a commie.